Today I'm going to show you a tutorial on skin smoothing. You can use applications such as Portraiture or something similar to that. This technique I'm going to show you today gives you a little bit more control. You can also create an action for it if you use high resolution photos as a standard for editing. That way all your settings will pretty much be the same. The first step and the most important is that you go over here and you create a duplicate layer. I always label mine skin smooth just so I know that this is the layer that I applied all my skin smoothing to. If you do not do this step, you will not have any control over how much you want to actually be applied. Doing this allows you to change the opacity later, which we'll get to. So first you're going to go over to your filters and you're going to go to blur. And you want to go to surface blur. You want to back this up just enough to where you can see enough of the detail in the face. You want all of the detail to pretty much be gone. Have it look as plastic or as cartoonish as you can. We're going to go back and fix this later, so I know this seems kind of extreme, but this is the first step. And we're going to add a couple of more filters to make it a little bit more realistic. The radius and the threshold, this is usually where I stand with that. And this is a high resolution photo, so and we'll smash OK. Next we're going to go to noise and we're going to add some noise back into the image. I just add a little bit of noise to make it look grainy. This is going to help to create a more natural look with the smoothing. That way it doesn't quite look as plastic as it did before. And then this is the amount that I usually use. Sometimes I use 3 and sometimes I go up as high as 6%. Uniform is where you want to make sure that that's the type of distribution that you're using. Mash OK. Once again, back up to filter and blur, but this time you're going to use Gaussian blur because you want to blur the noise. You can click and see how much more natural that looks than just when we applied the surface blur. And this is the good radius for that as well. Mash OK. Now this has applied this to the whole image, and you want to actually paint what you've done onto your subject. So in order to do that, you need to go over to your masks layer and make sure that you select that you're pressing down the Alt key or the Option key depending on which type of computer you're using, and so that you can apply a black mask. That covers up everything that we've done and leaves you back to the original image. Doing that, you need to make sure that white is selected for your brush. I always use a soft edge brush and just make sure that it's the size that you can work with. The important part when applying this is that you don't want to do any edges. You don't want to hit the eyelashes or the eyes, you don't want to hit the hairline, and you don't want to hit the edge of the face. So you just go through and kind of slowly, you want to go through and kind of slowly just work with the image and just kind of teeter around the edges a little bit. Because you are going to go back and you do the opacity later and blend this in. And as you can see, it does a really good job smoothing the skin, but it also does a good job getting rid of dark spots on the skin and blemishes as well. And it also does a good job getting rid of those lines. This is where I was talking about being careful getting around the eye. You just want to go barely below here. And just want to tap in right there in the inside. And just go straight down the nose like that. And just do right around it. And you are going to want to get rid of those laugh lines and such. And when you're working on the edge, I never take mine right directly to the edge because it is a soft edge brush that I'm working with. So enough of the brush is getting to the edge that it actually works okay without making the edge look soft and blurry. Then you're going to work your way around the mouth here, and you want to make sure that you don't get the natural curvatures right in here. And I'll show you how to avoid getting rid of that part right there as well. I usually just don't mess with this part at all. Usually it's in the shadow, so it doesn't really matter. And once we end up doing the actual opacity, then it won't really matter. And I just tap here and here. That takes care of the nose. I work my way up just to that lip crease right there. Then I'm going to change the size of my brush, because in here I'm just going to tap one time right in the center, and that leaves these two contours that we need right there. And there you have the smoothing process without applying any filters or anything else to it. That's done. What you want to do now is you want to select just how much you want to show. So that's when the opacity comes in. And you can just bounce back and forth between none and full. And the best thing to do is start with none and then work your way up slowly until it has just the right amount for you. I like to do it about 60% because it leaves some of the pores detail in there, and leave it at that. Then just go to layer, and once you have what you want, just merge your visible. And to get rid of any of the blemishes that became uncovered once we did it again, you just use your little tool there, your little tool right here, and just go through and mark. It should be very easy to do. Just click. And looks like we're done. I like to leave some of the freckles in. There we go. And now you're done. And you can see, you can go through and you can adjust, do the rest of your adjustments for the color detail and all that good stuff. And I can show you a tutorial another time to add the shadows and the highlights to contour the face better and enhance that makeup. But for now, this is where I stand with the smoothing. I think that it's better to have more control over it than using portraiture for say, because though you can use a mask in a program like that, it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more know-how. This is just something simple you can do, and you can add it into your actions like I said before, and it's just quick, fast, and still gives the skin a very smooth editorial look and gets rid of those blemishes. Thank you for listening, and come back next time for the tutorial on how to contour the face with the shadows and highlights and enhance that makeup.